Next up, Dr. Seppo Yrjölä. He has been awarded more than 10 million euros for his projects as a lead investigator. He's been with Nokia for 28 years, if I'm corrected. And he's just a top guy, and he's here for 30 minutes to give you everything he has on the future X network. So from Nokia, ladies and gentlemen, Seppo Yrjölä.
Thanks, Lauri. Play it again. Great to be here, and thanks for sharing your time with me on this Friday afternoon. My talk today will be about time. It will be about creating time and saving time, automation of everything, and how we can use that to create better cities and better environments for all of us. Let's see if it works. Time, I think time is the most valuable resource or asset for any one of us human beings. And there's three ways of saving or creating time. The first one is to change time, and that's the Einstein way. You find differences in gravity, or you find differences in velocity. The second one about changing the lifetime, that's part of the e-health story, fountain of youth or bioengineered equivalent. The third one I will talk about today is the usage of time and how we can have impact on that using the FutureX and 5G technology. Is this the Oulu River? Yes, nope. Nope, this is the other important river, and this is the Nokian River. And the picture was taken a couple of years after Nokia was founded. And the picture was taken in 1868, and this was about pulp mill in Nokia River. And after that, we in Nokia, we have seen a lot of different transformations. One could say industrial revolutions, and industrial processes and automation has played an important role in every single one of these. We have continuously created tools to augment our physical abilities and save time. As well, how to discover things. You are familiar with these brands, how to increase discovery to save time. And one could say as well, to waste time in many times. I will, in this talk, bring us back to the future and to the space. And are there any trekkers here? Great. You might recognize these, the communicator, holodeck, replicator, or as we call them nowadays, there's a kännykkä or smart device. We have 3D glasses, virtual reality, and 3D printers. But do we have these guys? How to decrease distance or how to increase knowledge with holodeck and tricorder. And once again, from my favorite Star Trek series. Value of time for us humans. I think we all pretty well know what we humans want, or do we know, based on Maslow's hierarchy. And if we are able to create time, save time, we can do things to live enjoyable lives. But do we know what machines want? IoT devices or robots? This is one of my favorite films, and anyone interested about futuristic thinking, please have a look at this. Is from Spike Jonze's Her, and there was, of course, helps a lot that Scarlett Johansson playing the voice of the operating system, and he's the kind of lonely writer, editor who falls in love with his computer's operating system. And I will now tell the rest of the story, but have a look at that kind of what machines want. And this is a pretty old film, but there's a newer film as well. What happens to me if I fail your test? And what are the digital needs? In my thinking, the digital needs could be animate things, power them up, do the data sensing, have the interfaces, secure digital connectivity, data stream processing and storage, service creation and measurement, and the last one, contextual analytics and automation. And this is from Alex Garland, 2015 Ex Machina, and here's the kind of software developer or programmer whose task from his CEO is to do the Turing test to our humanoid robot. So we have digital, physical realms and world, and future X architectures, or whether we call 5G. One of the key things is to bring these two worlds together. And here I would say that we are talking about revolution, technical revolution, disruption, transformation. And it has two basic features we should focus. First, the interconnection and interdependence of new systems and technologies, and at the same time, capacity to profoundly transform the economy and eventually society. So these are not doing. And unfortunately, I was not here yesterday, but there were a lot of talks about IoT and industrial internet or factory of the future or Industry 4.0. And that's on this side of the story. But I would a little bit challenge this, and more and more we have researched the topic and studied, more and more we have started to talk about Internet of Skills, Internet of Performing Arts, Internet of Education, Internet of Health and Care. And these are a couple of demos we have done in Helsinki University Hospital, as well as with arts and performing arts. And I would kind of challenge this Industry 4.0, that why don't we, for instance, Noulu start talking about and doing for skills what Internet did for the data and the knowledge. These technologies and 5G and IoT, we are all kind of surfing the hype curve or hype wave right now. And this 5G or connectivity is not the only one. But what's common if you look all these technologies, and this word has been mentioned so many times during today and yesterday, it's about that we are moving from technical pipelines and infrastructures towards platforms, ecosystem enabling platforms. And when we look at the platforms, we look at the system. So people said system of systems. And here we have to do things differently. It's not just pipelines or value chains. We start talking about networks. We start talking about how we orchestrate things and how we integrate things. And not just connectivity, but content, context, services, and commerce. And all stems from positive network effect. How to create value in this type of new setup? One could say that you create value in 4 different ways in high level. You integrate things, you are the collaborator, you do transaction enabling, like a broker, or you are the bridge provider. And if you look at the web scale companies or the internet companies, they nicely fall in one of these 4 or hybrid of 2 or 3 of these. And what Future X or 5G will bring it will bring in a high-level shift from hierarchies towards market. And that's why this picture of marketplace. There will be a lot of different services, and there should be platforms, there should be interfaces to enable this kind of marketplace to happen. You need to connect things, you need to integrate processes, businesses, and you need brokerage and marketplace in between. And this is what we don't want to happen, this kind of complexity beast. And if it's as complex as this, it will never be a market, never be a marketplace. And this is how a challenge for designing these systems is how you reduce the complexity of product description. Virtualization, cognitive system, open interfaces, mentioned many times as some key drivers here. And it's not just the complexity of product, but whether what you are doing, the system, whether it's asset specific or not. Like Wall Street here, the stock market, we have very well defined what are the assets. And in FutureX or 5G context, those of you who are familiar, you can talk about virtualized network functions, whether it's a storage or computing, network slices, different service level agreements or interfaces. Pretty different compared to old value chains, kind of connecting everything very tightly. And the next trend, as well discussed a lot during this summit, is that we need to learn to share. And once again, Spock from Star Trek used to say that more you share, more you gain. And that was as well on the Star Trek philosophy. How to find these idle resources, capacity or assets, we can then use in sharing economy, or whether you call it in clean tech a kind of circular economy. And pretty close to the sharing economy is this as well, that one man's trash is other man's treasure. And there was a technical presentation earlier about, we talk about infrastructure as a service, we talk about platform as a service, then the latest was software as a service. But what I would like to point and focus in business modeling is this data as a service. The data as a key enabler, whether it's a clean tech or circular economy, or how we design the new services or platforms for cities of the future. And this picture is from coming Lumo Light Festival in Oulu. And all this openness, networked way of doing platforms, it's asking one thing, trust. And we are not all from Norwegian or Norways where the trust is in place. But really how to build trust and between human beings, us, between companies, between industries, because many of these are kind of cross-functional, cross-industrial models in the future. And here as well, how to learn to collaborate, to co-create, and then compete to co-capture at the same time, what we call kind of co-opetition. And so the old wisdom that let's build bridges, not walls or towers, and here in technical language meaning open interfaces, standardized scale and harmonization in what we do in future networks of 5G. And here one thing, I personally think that 5G, we will hear later on more from Matti, many times talk about whether it's a speed, or is it a bandwidth, or is it a very short delay or latency. But I think that in 5G or FutureX, the signature feature is connection to services and applications. It's very easy to say, but it means that very complex systems of systems, you have to have open interfaces, northbound interfaces, how your network interact with over-the-top services, IoT applications, maybe other your competitions, you are sharing your assets and resources. And in IT world, in software world, we have all heard about so much about cloudification, service-based business models, and all this is as well coming to connectivity and telecommunication. And meaning that many things will move closer to us. And whether we call it kind of edge cloud or mobile edge computing, we do things closer to us, closer to our machines, close to our industrial processes. And one good slogan I heard a couple of months ago that we are moving from we know you society to you know me society, meaning that it's fully tailored and personalized based on your business case, your use case, or you could be a machine or robot, what you need, and based on that tailoring. And that means that you have to bring these services closer. Imagine that there are 0 road accidents or fatalities for us, for our cars, animals, drones, robots, unmanned vehicles. And there's always poor water, and not just water, but whether it's the oxygen or food, for us, for our ecosystem, and for our life support systems as a whole. And we heard today that there's preventive maintenance for machines or cranes. How about us? Should there be a preventing maintenance for us? And is it just that e-health is in hospitals, or should we bring e-health to our wrists, closer to us, to edge of human 4.0 network, as security in the network as well moves to the edges? And never be lost in translation. Always speak the local language. Here there were 340,000 ravers in Belgium. We served by Nokia Innovation Platform, one kind of rave happening there, for security, for healthy, and for kind of advanced video services. You speak all the languages. And learn to play with the very best. You have the old way. You need mentor and your trusted teacher very close to you, next to your finger. Internet of skills, how you can, from distance, learn from the very best. Whether it's to play the piano, or do the surgery, or do the maintenance work in factories. And not just to play with skills alone, but play with the others, play with your city, play with your society, and how to do this novel resource configuration and value creation, how you identify, match, and bridge resources, sharing economy, and city data as a service, the city data as an enabler. And that's, I'm very proud here in Oulu, what we have done in 6-aika or 6-aika project, where 6 city strategies are getting together. And not just cities, but with citizens, with us, and how we test live our city. If we test live the factory, we test live the hospital, but here the idea is that how we test live our Oulu city or Helsinki or Espoo. And please visit the booth outside for further information. And imagine you will never be lost with Future X. You will always find home, whether you are human or thing or dog. And starting with what we humans need, always find the one once. A sense of belonging, connected, never be alone. And one could imagine Friday afternoon that love could be the answer. And all this in secure way, in privacy and security and trust. In prediction and automation, we need to create more time, save our time with no fear. What's needed to make all this happen? We need Finnish sisu, first of all. We need guts and we need stamina. What Edison mentioned about perspiration, that's the 99% of all in innovation, creating new things. And we need Sampo, the Finnish magical artifact, gold-making machine. We have to dream big. We have to think about sparking insight and foresight in what we are doing. And for me, to summarize the Future X network or 5G story, it's all about time. Imagine to never be a rush again. Get 1 or 2 hours back every day, year-round. And then to live more productive, efficient, enjoyable life. And for techies, not just trekkers, interested to dive deeper into details of how we will make all this happen, please read the book. That's a kind of collection of white papers from Nokia and Nokia Bell Labs going through these ideas and the technology enablers behind. You remember the old Nokia slogan in Oulu many years ago? We talked about Nokia connecting people, and after that, in research and innovation, we talk about Nokia connecting things. And now the official new slogan is Nokia connecting world. Technology to connect the world. Thank you for your time, and let's save time together. And now I'm happy to hear your reflections and comments and questions. Thank you.